Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. Today we're going to talk about time management and profitability. As a VA, time is always money, and yet so many of us don't manage our own time well. Today's quote is from Jim Rohn, who provides so many of my favorite quotes. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to the hour. This concept of value is one that I always talk about. I talk about it a lot, and I will again in today's episode. It's really important to focus on your value and your time in relation to your profitability. Let's go. I'll say it again. Time is money when you operate a service businesses like all of us virtual assistants do. So that means a few things. First of all, it means that you have to be meticulous in measuring your time so that you are sure that your business is profitable. And profitable is a funny thing for service businesses because we figure the money that comes in minus the money goes out equals profit. But we need to pay ourselves, we need to pay other people. Profitability is a lot more than just whatever comes in stays. Secondly, it means that you also have to work as efficiently as possible. Time is time is time. We only have as much time in a day as everybody else. And you have to waste less time each day in order to be profitable. And lastly, it means that at some point you're going to max out your own time. If you're billing by time, if you're billing by the amount of hours you're working in a day, which all of us do no matter how we do our billing, that's when you need to expand your day and as a result, your VA business. The most important thing you have to realize in business is that the client only wants to know two things, and you've probably heard me say this before if you've been following me for any length of time. The client wants to know what you can do for them and how much it will cost them. Many VAs quote their clients' time, and then that's all anybody thinks about or talks about anymore. But Jim Rohn is 100% correct when he talks about value. The client wants to know what you can do for them. They're paying for the value that you can bring to them. They are the ones who are deciding how valuable your services are so that they can, in return, pay you for them. They aren't asking you how much time they can have. They just need stuff done. And when you start talking to them about time, you drag your value way down. It's not about speed. It's not about how much time you're going to give somebody. It's the deliverables. It becomes a race instead of based on your expertise. So let's instead tell them what we can do for them and how much it will cost them. Trust me when I tell you this really is all they want to know. So let's break it all down. Tracking your time. How do you feel when I even say those words? I don't like tracking my time. I don't expect that you probably do either. But you know you have to do it when you're charging your clients for work that is completed in a certain amount of time or should be completed in a certain amount of time. Hourly billing is not a bad thing. I tell you all the time, it gets a really bad rap, but it doesn't need to. But there are some things that come up from it that don't make sense as a business owner. The most obvious one is missed time. You want to ensure that you're not forgetting to bill your clients. Would you believe me if I told you this is one of the most common issues that VAs come to me with for help? They work all day long. They never stop. They feel like they never stop. And at the end of the day, they can only find 4 or 5 hours of billable time to actually bill their clients. They get frustrated. They don't understand where their time is going. And that's when they come to me for help. And this is the same for hourly billing or whether you're taking time off of a retainer. If you can't account for the time you've spent working on a client's stuff, you can't bill them for it or subtract it from their retainer. It's really important. And this is the same, this is the main problem that we're jumping from task to task without ever thinking about recording anything properly. We think we're being efficient because we're moving from task to task, but we're really not. We're actually acting like a bad business owner because we're not taking the time to look after our own business in between tasks. When we're busy, this is something that happens a lot more often. So what can you do to handle this better? It's very easy. You just slow down. Be meticulous in recording what you do for each client. This is really the main reason that I still use a pen and paper as a means of recording time. It's always available. It sits on my desk. Each day I use a single page in a spiral notebook that stays on my desk, and I write down every task which I've done during that day and for which client. That's it. I don't have to record start time, stop time, or anything like that, just that task. Now, I know I tell you about start times and stop times all the time, and that's when we're managing our time. But for me, I'm talking about right now time management and profitability. So this is about the billing piece of it. So why does my pen and paper suffice? Because I've created processes that tell me how much each task costs the client. Checking email, 15 minutes. Creating a newsletter, 90 minutes. Making 5 graphics for social media from a template, 25 minutes. You get the idea. I don't know if those are the actual times that it takes you to do things, and those aren't always tasks that I'm providing for my clients right now, but you get the idea. It's the billable time to the client for each of the tasks that have been completed for that particular day. And I want to use those words billable time, not so much as, time spent. Okay. We assign a billable time to each task. I, when I have to figure out how much time I've used during any given day, working on a client's work or my own stuff, because all of it has to be accounted for, I just add up the task times and then I'm done. And those are the things that go into the billing, right? I get a lot of pushback from VAs on this process when I ask them to figure out those estimated times. But once they do, they realize how simple it makes everything in their business. And it starts with the process, writing out the procedure, going through the procedure, timing it, and figuring out how on average, or how long on average, it takes you to complete something, and therefore how much it should take somebody else, which we'll get to shortly as well. When you have the processes in place and the estimated times that go with them, you can easily quote package pricing to your clients. This is really the reason that I started actually pulling together my processes. And you can tell them what you can do for them and how much it will cost them. See how I circled back on that? It's essential for your profitability and for the efficiency of your business to do this task. So if you haven't done it yet, get moving. Second part is working efficiently, and this is the slow down process. Batching a client's work is a really good way to stay on task for a single client so that you know you spent 1 hour on this client or 30 minutes on that client, as opposed to 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, and 2 minutes there. Batching work is a really, really good way to make sure that you're not missing that billable time. When you stop billing your clients by the minute, you can make a plan to stick with their work for a specified period of time, and then you're not going to miss tracking it or billing it. It's also a more efficient way to work. Looking for efficiency in the way that you do everything is the other thing that's going to help you manage all of your time better. Not only is it important for your own task list, which you manage probably pretty well, I guess, but you have to think about the others that you're working with as well. How organized is your client? Do they have team members that you also have to work with? If anybody else is providing you with the pieces of the tasks that you are doing for your clients, then you have to ensure that you have some processes in place to account for how things get done. Here's what I mean. As we talked about in last week's episode, if you were on a client meeting, you should be the one creating the agenda, holding everyone to the agenda, as well as keeping the meeting on time, right? It's the same with everything else. If you do a client's newsletter every week, be sure that you have a process in place for the client or the other team members to provide you with their pieces as well as deadlines to do so. If your client maybe needs to approve social media posts before they go live, make sure that you provide them with enough time to get that done so you aren't going back to the same task 10 times. In fact, if a client has to approve the final version of anything you do, make sure that you have some kind of policy for how many revisions are allowed and that you hold them to it. If they consistently need more than the number that you offer, I mean revisions, tweak the process leading up to that final version. I know it sounds really sticky and really particular and that kind of thing, but this is how you develop efficiency. This is how you develop those processes. And this is how you're going to be able to grow your business so that you can support more clients, but also so that you can work less and make the amount of money that you're supposed to make. These are really, really simple ways to look for efficiencies. And there are many, many others. These are just the ones I'm focusing on in this episode. Depending on the services you offer, there are all kinds of things that you can look at. And certainly I can help you do that if you need some help. Working efficiently is about looking for the best way to get anything done. You can use others on a team, maybe that have more skill in something that you do. I know for me, that's Canva. That's a big one. Is it takes me a lot longer to get things done in Canva than it does with somebody with some expertise. So maybe that's a good option for me to get things done faster, buy up more or free up more of my time. Or you can use automation like a scheduling software instead of going back and forth to book appointments and that kind of thing. There are many, many ways that we can pull efficiency out of the tasks that we do every day. The last one I'll suggest for you is checklists. And this is honestly my number one tip. I'm a big fan of checklists because they work. I use them and they work. When I show people how to use them and they do use them, they work. When you're following a checklist to get something done, even if you've done it 100,000 times before, you are allowing yourself to trust the process. You don't have to use extra brain power to remember where you were. You don't have to go back and double check if you leave a project partway through, which is also about time efficiency. When you stop time, you can stop time, and you can come back to it because you just have to go back to that checklist and begin on the next step. Checklists can also help you make sure that you never miss a step because it's right there in front of you and you have to check it off once you have finished it, not before you do it. And if you have anybody else who helps you with anything, checklists are a great way for you to know that they're doing things the way you need them done and that they're not missing any steps either. Look for efficiencies everywhere you can. Implement the tools like checklists that you need to improve your work, and you will honestly get more done. Working efficiently also helps increase the value that you're bringing to the client. Remember Jim Rohn, they pay for deliverables and the expertise that you and your team are going to bring to their business. It's a great way to grow with your clients. And the last piece is expanding your day. There's going to become a time when you are maxed out. Billing by time means that at the end of your day and at the end of your week, you will only be able to work so much. The most successful VAs find this to be the case right away when they have a full roster of clients. So what do we do when we're running around all day long and we know that we're tracking our time properly and we know that we're working at maximum efficiency? That sounds like a dream to be able to be that busy, tracking our time properly and working efficiently. That's when it's time to expand something, right? When your day is tapped out, you can't make any more money. You can't bring in any more clients. And sometimes it's about the money, and sometimes it's about knowing that you can help more people. It's very satisfying, I think, a service business like a VA. One solution, of course, is to raise your rates. This episode is not a rates episode, obviously, but you can do that. And at some point, you must do that to grow your business. The faster way to expand is to hire people to help you with your work, subcontractors. Of course, your rates have to be in place when you are where you are able to pay somebody else and yet still remain profitable. So if they aren't there right now, that's where you need to stop. That's where you need to begin. If your rates can handle paying somebody else out to do the work, then that's your next step. If you are getting maxed out and you've done all those other things, right? Got the processes in place and working as efficiently as you can. But because you've already gone through those steps, you should be fully prepared to bring in somebody to help. And this is what I teach my private clients and my group coaching clients. Standard operating procedures are so essential, so important to have in your business, but they're even more important when you're bringing somebody else into your company. When somebody's doing your client work, you get to dictate how they do it. They follow your processes. They do the work in the estimated time that you tell them to do it in. The only way to know this time is to write up those processes and to assign that time to it. I know it sounds like a hassle, but I'm telling you, you only need to do it one time, like a lot of the things I teach you. Your subs are spending your money, your client's money, and it's very important for you to have a very good handle on what they are doing with their time and where the money that the clients are paying you is going. And yet, so many VAs brush this whole area off, thinking they're just getting things done, so everything is fine. And I caution them against that when we start working together. And not to mention, you're probably charging your clients a premium rate so that you can offer them a team of people to do their work. And in many cases, You aren't seeing every little thing the subs are doing anymore because now you're just overseeing instead of actually doing it. It's really important, folks, and you cannot skip this. Write up the processes, create the checklists, assign the estimated task times, insist that your subs follow the processes and use the checklist, and bill you according to your estimated times. Now, if your estimated times aren't jiving with how long it's taking your subs to do the work, then they have to alert you to that. And then you can identify why that is and you can fix it. Adjust your estimated times. It's not about making your subs work at the same pace that you can work at. It's about billing the clients effectively and paying the subs effectively and making sure that everybody is on the same page. But don't leave it to the subs to eat up your profits simply because you haven't given them all the tools that they need to do things as efficiently as possible. Expanding your day is essential to growing your business, even just incrementally, and getting your sanity back. And when you do it well, you're going to reap the rewards. Your subs are going to reap the rewards, and so will your clients, who ultimately are the ones that you are working for. Remember that value that Jim Rohn talks about. The client is hiring you. Your subs are working for you, representing you. So it's so important that they do things your way. Don't ever, ever forget that. This is something I see VAs tell me all the time. They're just happy that the work is getting done. But if you were doing the work yourself and you are the perfectionist that we all know you are, because so many VAs are, you have to expand that even to oversee the subs. They have to do superior work as well because you would if you were still doing it yourself. Ridiculously good time management is not rocket science. I've given you 3 tips today to help you figure out how to do it better. But it does take tracking to a new level, and it's much easier, I think, than counting minutes or using a clock timer all day long. Just write down the tasks that you're doing every day. You have the billable times right there. And like I say, if there's an issue with the billable times, the sub is going to tell you, it took me an hour to do Joe's newsletter, an hour longer than it was supposed to. Okay, why? Well, Joe wanted 10 revisions and this and this and that. There is a reason why things are going to maybe take a little bit more time sometimes. And if they consistently do, that's when you make your adjustments. It takes time tracking to that next level. I used this method to support my 6 and 7 figure business coaches for many years, and we did lots of tasks that a whole lot of VAs tell me can't be tracked in this way. Yes, they can, and I can show you how. You might need to change the way you think, or maybe the way you work slightly, but once you make the change, you'll see the difference immediately, and it's only a secret until you learn how to do it. Growing your VA business is something we can work on together in the Virtual Circle, my mastermind group for virtual assistants. Check it out at yourvamentor.com/TVC, the Virtual Circle. I bet it's exactly what you need to start building your VA business. If you need some help with creating processes and estimating your work time, reach out to me at tracy@yourvamentor.com. I have helped hundreds of VAs through their challenges and got them on the way to growing their business through my private and group coaching. I would love to do the same thing for you. That's all I've got for you this week. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.